Good morning, everyone. My name is Daiany. I oversee all of Google's work in the public health space. And it's very exciting to be back here at the Agents of Change conference, speaking with you once again. I will be speaking about how technology can supercharge all of the media campaigns that you're all running. So the digital revolution is really impacting everything around us. In fact, 98% of the economy is impacted by digital. It impacts the jobs that are available, how we file our taxes, how we communicate with each other, and of course, healthcare as well. Luckily, the medical professionals that are taking great care of us have access to more and more tools that are advanced and allow them to do a better job. But Americans are also taking an active approach to their own healthcare. So on the left, you can see just a few examples of some of the brands that have been surfacing over the last years, allowing Americans to do that. 23andMe is a great example of a company, for those who don't know, that allows you to screen your DNA and learn more about your ancestry. And then, of course, Fitbit and many other apps have surfaced that allow us to monitor our fitness and our exercise trends and our health, which is great. On Google, we've seen this trend for some time now. In fact, we know that Americans are more likely to go online to search for health information than to talk to their own doctor. And while it's a little bit frightening, I know, it also presents an opportunity for all of us. Because if Americans are raising their hand and are coming in saying, hey, tell me more about this health issue, how can I take better care of myself, we can all stand up and say, hey, here's the information that you need to know. So searchers are asking Google 120 million health-related questions every single day. From their perspective, again, they're just looking for the information that helps them lead their lives. From our perspective, A, it's an opportunity for us to get them the information, but it's also an opportunity for us to learn more about them. So what do you learn about someone who's searching for help quit smoking? Or someone who's searching for healthier mac and cheese recipes? Or how to get my kids more active? So these are 120 million opportunities every single day that could help us get smarter, get wiser about the audiences that we're trying to reach. So that's the context. I want to talk to you about how we can use all of this data and all of this technology, first, to better understand our audiences. Second, to personalize our messages and make sure that we can have a one-to-one connection with each person we're speaking to. And then lastly, to really understand what's working with our campaigns. All right, let's kick off. So we established that Americans are searching a ton for health information. Almost 3/4 of Americans will begin that online journey on Google search. 1 in 20 searches are health-related. And we see this pretty much across every public health category. So I want to show you one example, one that's very timely, very relevant, unfortunately, today, and that's with opioids. What we're looking at here is a graph of all the searches in the US related to opioids over the last few years. As you would expect, as the opioid epidemic has spread, more and more people are coming to Google to get information, to get help for themselves and for their families. What's interesting, though, is when you start to dig a little bit deeper, to take a look at what are people searching, what are people asking for. So we did some pretty deep analysis, and we were able to find that there are basically 5 distinct categories within the opioid space that Americans are searching for. And when you put them side by side, it starts to map a path to dependence, a path to opioid dependence. So take a look. It starts with searches on severe back pain, pain symptoms, sports injury, followed by searches around treatment, either physical therapy or drug treatments. Then many people go on to research side effects, the side effects of OxyContin, tramadol side effects, or withdrawal. Then some folks continue to search on addiction. So what are the signs of addiction? How do I know if I'm addicted or a family member is? And then some folks, lastly, start to reach out for help, for rehab centers and other resources. So if you're a health communications expert in the opioid space, this is incredibly helpful for you, because now you can understand what people are asking, what information they need, what you should be answering. Here's another way to look at it. So 125 million opioid-related searches in the US every year. And the size of the bubble denotes what the volume is, how many of those searches we're seeing. So the questions that follow, well, what does this look like in the state that I operate in? Or the county or the DMA that I'm looking at? Or how fast are people moving from symptoms to treatment to side effects? And is that accelerating or is it slowing down? And so if you're at CDC and you're working on this, this can be really insightful, helping you understand where you should be deploying resources. Right? You speak to somebody who is researching pain symptoms very differently than you speak to someone who's researching general addiction information, right? And there is a message, a targeted message that really each of those groups should hear about the risks of opioids or the resources that are available to them as an individual. So at Google, we believe that search is a leading indicator of behavior change and really a leading indicator of intent. And so it can be incredibly useful for public health communications to understand what's going on in the space. But since we've got a room full of scientists and experts here, we wanted to go one step further and push the data. And so we took a look at all these searches and we overlaid them with CDC's data reporting opioid-related deaths. And what we found is a meaningful correlation, especially when you look at searches on pain treatment and side effects. So what that means is that in areas where we're seeing higher volume of these specific searches, it's more likely that we're also going to see an increase in opioid-related deaths. That correlation gets stronger and stronger every year. And so you can imagine a time where the correlation is strong enough where we can start to use this type of data to predict where resources are needed. Now, CDC's death data, unfortunately, takes about 2 years before it's available, but search data is available almost instantly. So now this becomes a really important tool in your arsenal to understand how to diagnose, how to respond to a specific issue or a specific area in the community that you cover. And again, this is just one example with opioids, but this can be replicated across many public health categories. So as you're looking at your campaigns, think about what is the real-time data that you can use from Google and from other digital platforms that help you inform your campaigns and continuously understand what is going on the ground right now. All right, I want to move into personalization. So I think Jeff kicked off with this yesterday, how important it is that the person who is watching your video or reading your ad feels like it was designed for them, that it's speaking to them. And at Google, we're firm believers of this. On YouTube, in fact, we've seen that viewers are 3 times as likely to watch your video if they feel that it's personalized to them. It sort of sounds intuitive, right? Obviously, people want to see videos that are tailored to them, but you would be surprised in the marketing world how innovative this sounds. So you can use digital signals from Google Search and from many, many other digital platforms, and of course, traditional means as well, to better understand your audience. But there are also technologies that you can use to quickly and easily personalize messages. So I'm going to show you a few examples. This is one from Campbell's Soup, all relevant to us, right? Who likes soup? All right, less in the summertime, I know. We're going to address that in a moment. Take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it.
Soup has been nourishing humanity for millennia.
Soup!
That's why Campbell's believes no matter what life throws at you,
We've got a soup for that.
the trouble is we only ever think to cook it when it gets cold. And with 2016 marking Australia's warmest winter on record, sales of Campbell's Soup had hit an all-time low. We needed to make a 20,000-year-old dish relevant in 2016. So we created Soup Tube, a pre-roll campaign with over 1,700 individual ads. Each one specifically tailored to the video you were searching for on YouTube. Excited for the new season of Orange is the New Black? You'll be served this. If you're listening to single ladies, you'll see this. Trying to make sense of world politics? Can't let go of Let It Go? Looking for fail videos? Searching for carpool karaoke? Catching up on UFC highlights? Need cooking advice? New Star Wars trailer? We even created daily pre-rolls related to the world's trending topics, like Brexit, the Icelandic soccer team, and Pokemon Go.
It allows us to be really relevant, really topical, and really quick.
And I think it's a really interesting campaign just because of how targeted it is. And it really sets a benchmark for how brands and their agencies should consider communications moving forward.
This resulted in an average view rate of 92%, a total of 3 million impressions, a 24.7% lift in ad recall, and a 6.9% lift in brand awareness. And best of all, a 55.6% increase in sales of Campbell's Simply Soups. We didn't give Australians a reason to buy Campbell's Soup, we gave them thousands, helping Campbell's Soup become relevant almost 20,000 years later.
I'm gonna go get some soup.
So who's excited about creating 1,700 ads? Okay. So I know when you hear 1,700 ads, your head spins a little bit. If there are any creative agencies in the room, they want to shoot me. But actually, this is much simpler than it appears. This takes one video and a spreadsheet with a bunch of text. That's it. You put your taglines inside, you flip a switch, and it all runs. That's how easy it is to take one video and make it feel really personal to all the segments within your audience. So imagine how much more effective your campaigns would be if you had 3 times the engagement, 3 times the viewership on all your videos. So that's one example. With technology, we can also control how we tell our story. Right? Most of you are working on behavior change campaigns, and you would agree that your audience needs multiple engagements, multiple touch points before you can really inspire action. And that's pretty much true across the board. But then even within the audience, some people need a few extra nudges, right? Some people are ready to change, and some people really need more support. As Jeff would talk about it, maybe have a greater burden of change. So now with technology, you can really customize your approach to what each person within your audience needs. To illustrate this, I'm going to show you an example. This is a case study from the film release of The Greatest Showman, a film starring Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron, telling the story of Barnum and Bailey. So what we're going to look at first is the main trailer that was promoting the video. This was the ad that was basically targeting users across YouTube. Anyone who was a movie lover would have seen this ad. And it ran as a Trueview Skippable Ad. So for those of you who haven't been on YouTube in a few years, basically what that is an ad that you have to watch the first 5 seconds. After 5 seconds, you can either keep watching or you can skip ahead if you're not interested. And marketers only pay for that view if you decide to watch the full video. So let's take a look at this.
If you could dream something up, dare to dream anything, what would it be? Wonder.
The Greatest Showman in cinemas Boxing Day. Book now.
Magical. What's really cool, though, is what they did with this. So if you watch this video and you didn't skip it, you watched all the way to the end, what are you telling them? What signal are you sending them? You're interested. You like this. You'd watch this for sure. So then if you didn't skip this, next time you come to YouTube, you'll be served a second ad. And this one is a reward. It's a behind-the-scenes sneak peek with Zac Efron. We won't play this because it's a little bit long, but it shows you how he and Hugh Jackman were prepping for all their scenes. What a great way to keep your audience engaged if they told you, hey, I'm interested, this seems really cool. A great way to keep them kind of connected until the movie's released. But if they skipped the original video, they're saying, not really into this. Probably not a movie I'm going to go watch. Next time you came to YouTube, you saw this.
What is your act, Mr. Carlisle?
I don't have an act.
Everyone's got an act. Why don't we rewrite the stars, changing the world to be ours?
So what do you notice about that trailer compared to the first one? Does it feel different? That's like a different movie, right? That's a love story. I didn't even see Hugh Jackman in there. So think about what they've done here. They've essentially made their movie appeal to a whole new segment of the audience. So I know that you all aren't launching movies, but think about your campaigns. Think about a message that you send out where a chunk of your audience is like, not interested, no, I'm not buying it. What if you could re-engage that audience, that segment, with a whole different approach to how to talk about this issue? Imagine if you could just bring along a whole new segment that was initially really distant or kind of rejecting your message. That's what they did here. And then for anybody that watched at least one of these videos all the way through, a few days before the movie was finally released, they saw this.
I'm putting together a show, and I need a star.
So a short 10-second ad unit just before the release. In the movie world, this is that final reminder, hey, coming out Friday, go buy your ticket. In the public health world, this could be that final push. Hey, make that quit attempt tomorrow. Go talk to your doctor today. Cook something healthier right now, right? And what a great way to do that, to kind of connect all the dots for your audience. So technology now allows you to personalize all your ads and really ensure that everyone within your target audience is coming along on that journey at the pace that they need to come. All right, lastly, I'm going to talk about the easiest part of our jobs, and that's outcome evaluation. Okay, cool, super easy. See that? What's funny is that I attend a lot of private sector conferences, and everybody kind of bangs their head against the wall when they talk about measurement, because it's seen as such a challenge. And then I come here and talk about how to measure things like, if someone didn't start smoking, or if someone got an HIV test, and I'm like, oh, they have no idea what we're going through. So just understand that everybody in the industry really is facing the same kind of challenges that you are. Now, Kristen talked this morning about the kind of state of research today. Longitudinal studies, long-term studies that take years to analyze the data and years before it's released publicly. And of course, we learn a ton through all of that research, but we also know that the public health issues that we're working on aren't waiting around for us at this time. So in 2016, over 2 million Americans misused prescription opioids for the first time. Every day, over 2,000 teens will try their first cigarette. And every year, over 10 million 15 to 24-year-olds are diagnosed with an STD. So while I'm not advocating just throwing all of our research away, I do think that we have a responsibility to look a little bit deeper at the digital metrics that are available to us in near real time to understand what's working. Americans spend more time today consuming media with digital than on TV or anywhere else. So theoretically, we should have this data. If you're connected, if you're tracking, you should be able to understand what's going on. So let me show you a few examples. I'm going to start basic. This is a campaign that we ran in partnership with CDC, a pilot to raise awareness on the risks of opioids. Again, the main goal here was just to raise awareness. When this launched on YouTube, we were able to launch an experimental lift study that basically randomized our audience into control and exposed. And then surveying the audience just a few days later, we found that people who watched the ad were 55% more likely to be aware of the campaign and of CDC's resources. So an awareness study is not revolutionary by any means, but what is significant here is that this is a free study that told us very quickly, within about a week and a half after launch, which of the creatives are working, which segments within our audience are most responsive, and gave us data that we could act on immediately. So if you know that awareness of your message has a strong correlation with opinions on KABs or with behavior change, then this becomes a really important metric for you to measure. Now, that was the goal of the campaign, but we really wanted to see what else was going on when this media was marketed. For context, there was a debate, a conversation going on in the advocacy community on painkillers versus opioids. So the public health community talks about it as opioids, and that's where we associate a lot of the risk. But a lot of consumers think about it as painkillers, and that includes Tylenol and Advil and things that they just don't find risky. And so how do you break that disconnect? So we did a little bit of analysis looking at the ads that CDC was running at the time, on YouTube, on display, on search, and they all, of course, call out opioids very clearly. And then we looked at all the markets where the ads ran. And what we found was that in these at-risk markets, after the media ran, people were 62% more likely to use the term opioids than painkillers in comparison with a number of other at-risk markets that didn't have media. So unintentionally, perhaps, CDC managed to shift the conversation and get people talking and using the words that are actually associated with the risk they represent. So think about your campaigns now. What if I told you that the media that you run is able to shift the way people are searching about it? Right? Going back to the earlier example, what if I told you that I could prove to you that the media that you're running will get 1,000 additional people to search help quit smoking every day? Or 1,000 more people to search for risks of opioids, or healthy recipes, or many other topics. That's the kind of action that you want to be able to measure, right? That's the kind of action that you can measure within days of a campaign's launch and really understand, hey, which of my ads are causing these searches? Which of the targeting features that I'm using is leading to this? So that's another example, and again, this can be replicated across any public health category. And I want to talk about one last thing, and it's a little bit of a stretch, so please come along with me. But I have to, because this is the future of marketing, and so you all need to know about it. This is called data-driven attribution. I know it sounds super technical. It's actually not. Here's how it works. This is basically just a mock-up, so this isn't real, but this is something that I sort of made up on what the path could be for someone who's going to donate blood with Red Cross. So they might go to Google and search how to donate blood. And then they would see an ad up top, and they'd click on it, and they'd go to the website, the section of Give Blood, Find Drive. They'd enter their zip code, They'd find a location near them. They would enter some information to check availability, and they're like, all right, I'm going to do that for sure. But then they leave the website and they forget about it. 3 or 4 days later, they're retargeted an ad, a display ad, that reminds them, hey, now's the time, donate. Ah, that's right, I wanted to do that. So they click on that banner, they come back to the website. Again, give blood, find drive. They go through, they find their center, they choose a donation time, they click through, they sign up online. Now that's an online action that you can actually track. Which of these was most important? Some people are saying display. Signing up, but what was most important to get them to sign up? The initial search. The initial search. So if it's just the initial search and you don't have that display ad, they leave the site and they potentially don't come back. If you're just running that display ad as a retargeting, well, you're never going to get them if they didn't come to your website to very begin with, right? So this is a trick question because you really don't know which one came. And this is just one of thousands, probably millions of paths that individuals can take before they reach that end goal of signing up to donate blood. It's probably impossible for a human being to go through all this data and figure out what's most important. And you need to know what's most important because if you're allocating your media budget, you want to make sure that you're prioritizing all of the different avenues that are working together to get that person through the door. And so now with data-driven attribution, or DDA, basically you can allow machine learning to do it for you. So it will analyze all of the various paths that people take and will weight them based on how much they assist in the overall conversion and the overall achievement of that goal. And then it can adjust all of your campaigns so you're allocating your budget accordingly. And the more that people sign up and the more that you get conversions, the smarter it gets and the better that it gets. So if you run media through Google AdWords right now, you can literally just go into your settings and enable DDA, enable data-driven attribution. There's no cost to it. It literally just it's just a report that tells you how things work together, and then you can decide if you want to act on it in the future. If you're running media across the web and you use DoubleClick Campaign Manager, DCM, to run your media, then you can go into your settings there and enable it as well. And then it'll tell you not just how all your Google media is contributing, but how all of the digital media that you're working with across the web is working together. So think about the possibilities. If you can find one important action online that you can measure, a sign up, a search for a local center, a zip code finder, a newsletter sign up, any sort of action that you think is a really good indicator that somebody is engaged and likely to connect with your message or take some sort of action, you can then enable all of this technology to do all the work for you so that all of the machine learning continuously learns and gets you more and more people taking that action. And so that's the future of how technology can really impact your campaigns. So in closing, just think about the data that's available to you from Google and from all of your digital partners, and how you can use that in really real time to get smarter about your audience. Create personalized messages and use technology to really make users feel like you're connecting with them on an individual level. And then lastly, try to find some digital metrics that can be proxies to the ultimate behavior you're trying to change, and that will allow you to quickly optimize and react to what's working well. Thank you.